This is the memo from the EPA. These are his actual pen strokes. He says, no, you can't say this. This is just speculation. This was embarrassing to the White House, so this fellow resigned a few days later, and the day after he resigned, he went to work for ExxonMobil. You know, more than 100 years ago, Upton Sinclair wrote this, that it's difficult to get a man to understand something if his salary depends upon his not understanding it. The second misconception, do we have to choose between the economy and the environment? This is a big one. A lot of people say we do. I was trying to convince the previous administration, the first Bush administration, to go to the Earth Summit. And they organized a big White House conference to say, oh, we're on top of this. And one of these view graphs caught my attention. I want to talk to you about it for a minute. Now, here is the choice that we have to make according to this group. We have here a scales that balances two different things. On one side, we have gold bars. Don't they look good? I'd just like to have some of those gold bars. On the other side of the scales, the entire planet. I think this is a false choice for two reasons. Number one, if we don't have a planet, the other reason is that if we do the right thing, then we're going to create a lot of wealth and we're going to create a lot of jobs, because doing the right thing moves us forward.
I've probably given this slideshow 1,000 times. I would say at least 1,000 times. Nashville to Knoxville to Aspen and Sundance, Los Angeles and San Francisco, Portland, Minneapolis, Boston, New Haven, London, Brussels, Stockholm, Helsinki, Vienna, Munich, Italy and Spain and China, South Korea, Japan.
Thank you.
I guess the thing I've spent more time on than anything else in this slideshow is trying to identify all those things in people's minds that serve as obstacles to them understanding this. And whenever I feel like I've identified an obstacle, I try to take it apart, roll it away, move it, demolish it, blow it up. I set myself a goal. Communicate this real clearly. The only way I know to do it is city by city. Person by person. Family by family. And I have faith that pretty soon enough minds are changed that we cross a threshold.
Let me give you an example of the wrong way to balance the economy and the environment. One part of this issue involves automobiles. Japan has mileage standards up here. Europe plans to pass Japan. Our allies in Australia and Canada are leaving us behind. Here's where we are. Now there's a reason for it. They say that we can't protect the environment too much without threatening the economy and threatening the automakers, because automakers in China might come in and just steal all our markets. Well, here is where China's auto mileage standards are now. Way above ours. We can't sell our cars in China today because we don't meet the Chinese environmental standards. California has taken an initiative to have higher mileage cars sold in California. Now, the auto companies have sued California to prevent this law from taking effect because, as they point out, 11 years from now, this would mean that California would have to have cars for sale that are as efficient 11 years from now as China's are today. Clearly, too onerous a provision to comply with. And is this helping our companies succeed? Well, actually, if you look at who's doing well in the world, it's the companies that are building more efficient cars. And our companies are in deep trouble. Final misconception. If we accept that this problem is real, maybe it's just too big to do anything about. And you know, there are a lot of people who go straight from denial to despair without pausing on the intermediate step of actually doing something about the problem. And that's what I'd like to finish with, the fact that we already know everything we need to know to effectively address this problem. We've got to do a lot of things, not just one. If we use more efficient electricity appliances, we can save this much off of the global warming pollution that would otherwise be put into the atmosphere. If we use other end-use efficiency this much, if we have higher mileage cars this much, and all these begin to add up, other transport efficiency, renewable technology, carbon capture and sequestration, a big solution that you're going to be hearing a lot more about. They all add up, and pretty soon we are below our 1970 emissions. We have everything we need, save perhaps political will. But you know what? In America, political will is a renewable resource. We have the ability to do this. Each one of us is a cause of global warming, but each of us can make choices to change that. With the things we buy, the electricity we use, the cars we drive, we can make choices to bring our individual carbon emissions to zero. The solutions are in our hands. We just have to have the determination to make them happen. Are we going to be left behind as the rest of the world moves forward? All of these nations have ratified Kyoto. There are only 2 advanced nations in the world that have not ratified Kyoto, and we are one of them. The other is Australia. Luckily, several states are taking the initiative. The 9 northeastern states have banded together on reducing CO2. California and Oregon are taking the initiative. Pennsylvania is exercising leadership on solar power and wind power. And U.S. cities are stepping up to the plate. One after the other, we have seen all of these cities pledge to take on global warming. So, what about the rest of us? Ultimately, this question comes down to this. Are we capable of rising above ourselves and above history? Well, the record indicates that we do have that capacity. We established freedom and self-determination in the United States and in France and then all over the world. The same year Lincoln freed America's slaves, Russia freed its serfs. Women earned the right to vote, first in New Zealand, then in Scandinavia, and it spread from there. The entire world defeated fascism in both Europe and the Pacific simultaneously. The moral force for nonviolence triggered a revolution that spread to other countries. The world supported Nelson Mandela's victory in tearing down the apartheid system. Scientists and doctors from many nations worked together to conquer fearsome diseases like smallpox and polio. And the 2 superpowers finally ended their deadly nuclear arms race.